What age should it be legal?
For the prostitute?
For the prostitute. And then I'll ask the other for the customer.
I would say 21.
Why?
Just because it's legal drinking age.
Well, what about 18 legal voting age?
I think our
18
country's
legal,
already established their hypocrisy.
Isn't 18 the legal age to watch pornography?
I think it should be 21 because I can't picture any 18-year-olds having, not that a 21-year-old is necessarily equipped, but I can't imagine them being in a position to make that type of decision.
Well, now, currently 18-year-olds can star in pornography, they can star in porn films and be on pictures with them naked everywhere. I mean, strip. What's the difference? Strip?
Well, the government would be profiting from the industry if it would become legal.
The government profits off the porn industry, definitely.
It does, but in terms of prostitution, I think that it would need to be at least drinking age.
It might be a safer avenue once it becomes legalized for women to, to choose as a career option. It might be, since it's regulated, I mean, there might be, I don't want to say health benefits, but in a way, maybe a type of health insurance or health screening, and they would get paid and they wouldn't have to worry about pimps or something like that. It might not be such a dangerous...
But wouldn't the government
this whole
by extension, the government could be the pimp in any type of occupation. But just that in general, I mean, hopefully it would be less dangerous to do if legal. So then maybe the 3 extra years wouldn't make much of a difference.
I don't understand how you argue against the age majority. I mean, 18 is when you're considered an adult in this country. Even though it's not when you can drink, it's generally when you're considered an adult, when you can move out of your house, when you can do a lot of other things.
When you get killed for the army.
Right.
For instance. But I don't understand why you think 21 is that much.
Just in terms of psychologically, I think you're at a much more stable place. And maybe that 3 years... not having that opportunity to work, if it's really well regulated, would encourage someone to pursue something more.
No, what I think is funny is that I remember when we were discussing strippers, a lot of people had a problem with people choosing stripping as a career option. And now we're kind of contemplating prostitution as a career option, which I think is absolutely ridiculous and shouldn't be allowed. So
assuming that there's inherently something wrong with being a prostitute.
Yes, with selling your body, I think, and having sex with men for money, I think there's something inherently wrong with that.
Why?
Because I see sex as something a lot more valuable, something that needs to be protected, a little more sacred than something that's just bought. I think it would reduce crimes against women, just especially because of the whole pimp system right now. From everything I've seen on TV and movies and from what I've heard on the news, it doesn't seem to be a good system. It just seems like the pimps use like the threat of force and power and their physical strength and whatever it is, I don't know, their intimidation factor to protect these women, but also at the same time extort these women. So I think that it would reduce crime, but I don't think, against women specifically, but I don't think that that's a reason to legalize it, because you have to look at all the other effects that it's going to have. And just in general, I think it's going to cause a lot of problems with husbands being more likely to engage in adultery, people just in general, I see a moral decline.
You see more sex.
I see a moral decline.
Bad.
It's not more sex. It's more sex for all the wrong reasons.
Negative secondary effects.
Well, in addition to other ones that I think are more primary, but yeah.
I think the amount of reported crime would actually increase in terms of the fact that basically rape isn't taken seriously right now amongst that population, and they would actually be able to, if it was regulated, they would probably be able to have the ability to report the various things that happen to them in terms of being robbed and raped and beaten, and
but that's still a benefit, isn't it?
I consider that a benefit.
Who uses prostitutes?
Boys. Men.
Well, that's kind of the thing that I was going to get at before. Is it men that are kind of sex starved, that have these fantasies of going and having sex with women that they've never met before? Is it men that have a fantasy of paying for sex? Is it men that have... I mean, there's all kinds of different things that it could be. And these are all men... I mean, in general, I don't see... From what I understand now, I don't see the normal, typical household guy like that's married and has kids going to use prostitutes, although I'm sure that is part of the people that do. I kind of have a different vision of the customer that goes uses a prostitute.
Well, let's just... I mean, one of the ways that prostitutes make money, the high-end prostitutes, is they hang around in hotel bars. Hotels, big, expensive hotels.
Mm-hmm.
and that's the high end market, and that's where you get businessmen in my opinion are more likely to be married than your average 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old guy looking for a good time. And so I think it spans. I think that the common view of prostitution should be extended to include the escort services and the hotel bar, the women that hang out in hotel bars as well, because that's still prostitution. I mean, when you call an escort service for an escort, you know what you're hoping anyway that you're calling for. So
the point that you're raising is that you think that the number of customers who use prostitutes are equal in terms of gender. You think women are equally likely to use male prostitutes
if it's legal
as men are likely to use female prostitutes?
Wait, do you mean currently? Or
No. If prostitution becomes legal, then it's going to be equal. Because I'm assuming that men are more likely to do illegal stuff than women would. So if it's legal, it wouldn't be illegal. So it probably would be equal.
No way. I don't
I think
think
it'd be
so.
equal.
I think that when women hire a male escort service, they're kind of they're looking to like take a man on a date to like a public function where they don't otherwise have one. I don't think that
Assuming
it's a
prostitution is
certainty.
legal?
I don't think it's a certainty that women are looking for sex with this male escort.
Haven't you heard the
I don't
typical
think
40-year-old
necessarily
single
men are
woman?
either, though.
but given our previous debates in the ways that men define sex or love or pleasure in the way women do, how is that not still prostitution? If I'm a female and I'm calling a company because I'm lonely and I want a man to spend time with me, that man is still a prostitute. Whether or not there's actual sex involved, you are paying him to comfort you, to love you, to make you feel better about yourself.
Well, is the issue that we're paying for sex or that we're paying for time? I mean, because I'm working under the definition that we're paying for sex.
Yeah, I believe prostitution, at least in terms of
Okay.
how I define it, includes sexual
Encounters,
activities.
yeah.
I think you'd probably be surprised how many men pay and don't actually have sex then.
But the woman is most likely still a prostitute because she's been paid to have sex.
Power differentials in the way that women go about meeting men, the way that men go about meeting women. For some men it's just easier to go pay somebody and have sex, where women can take the option that you've just noted.
Right.
Definitely. I mean, if a woman goes out and says, I want to come home with a man, chances are she'll be able to do that. If a guy goes out thinking the same thing, which most of them do every night, chances are,
coming home alone.
yeah, that may not be the case.
If you look at the statistics of what occurs in prostitution, they collected such statistics in the beginning of the HIV/AIDS crisis to find out what behaviors were being exhibited. The most frequent sexual behavior paid for in a prostitute is quick oral sex in a car. Are women likely to be consumers of such?
No.
I don't think so.
It's not quick.
And it's not in a car.
No, not at all.
I don't.
No, I don't see that.
And what does that tell you about the dynamics of male sexuality and female sexuality? Why would men
Or the
pay for such?
stereotypes.
Why would men pay for such and women never pay for such?
Men are in for the quick fix, just like instant gratification. And I guess you could say that women are looking for more. Who knows? I don't think that's always the case, though. I mean, I've heard of my friends always tell me about how I have some friends that are older, and they say, yeah, if you ever see a 30-year-old single woman at a bar, they're there to have sex. They're there to find somebody to have sex with.
Agreement, disagreement?
I don't know. That's what
That's such a stereotype.
I disagree with that. I don't think.
But would you
I
agree
think
with that
that's
every
a
20-year-old,
stereotype.
21-year-old, 22-year-old male in a bar is looking for sex?
For the most part.
Yeah.
So why
You don't think a single
I
woman in her
experience
30s?
that every time I go out. It's a meat market. Westwood is a perfect example.
But you choose a certain place to go.
I choose to not go to
Or
certain
you,
places.
either way, where you base that learning experience on. I mean, yes, on a college campus, maybe it is the norm. But I mean, I think to discount what he said so quickly is maybe judgmental on our part. The 30-year-old woman in a bar theory. I mean, to say that and to discount it so quick or to laugh at it for saying
A
it. I don't know.
30-year-old single woman in a bar. I mean, I went down to Mexico for spring break. There were women in their 30s there for spring break, but spring break is all college kids down there. And they were at these clubs and bars drinking and dancing. I mean, I guess they could be there to have a good time with just their girlfriend. I don't know. But it definitely seemed like they were there looking for sex.